ברשות הרב, יישר כוח לכולם. בדרך כלל בציבור שיש אנשים, אז תמיד בכל העולם הרחב, ממשחקי כדורגל עד הרצאות של רבנים, מסתכלים על כמות.
He says, usually when there is a crowd and there's some type of an event, the first thing that people pay notice to is the quantity of people.
למה? במשחק כדורגל אני מבין למה. כי צריך סך הכל אנשים שצורכים.
He says in a soccer game, he understands why it's based on quantity, because they need a lot of people to scream, to cheer for the teams.
אבל בשיעורי תורה או בדברים רוחניים, הגמרא מלמדת אותנו שהרבה פעמים האיכות גוברת על הכמות.
He says when it comes to Torah, the shiurei Torah, the Gemara teaches us that it's quantity over quality.
באמת יש חקירה גדולה באחרונים. חוקר את זה רבי יוסף אנגיל, היה אחד מגאוני אשכנז לפני כ-150 שנה. בכל התורה כולה, מה עדיף? כמות או איכות?
One of the geonim, there was one of the Gedolei Ador, Ashkenazi Gedolei Ador,
Rabbi Yosef Engel.
Rabbi Yosef Engel. He actually paskin on this in one of his responses. What really is more critical, the quantity or the quality?
והוא לא פוסק, אלא מביא הרבה ראיות.
So he brings many, he doesn't actually paskin, he brings a lot of sources.
אז שאלו אחד מהגדולים, אז מה ההלכה? הוא אמר, תשים לב, יש לו מצד אחד ראיות איכותיות לצד אחד, ומצד שני, הרבה ראיות לצד השני. אז זה עוד פעם, כמות ואיכות.
So they asked him, so what's the actual halacha? He says, just look at it. On one side, he has many strong sources to support that quality is more significant. The other side also has many sources, but it's not necessarily, apparently, it doesn't seem like it's that strong.
אבל בוודאי שכל מי שהגיע בשעה של לילה, עזבו את המשפחות והגיעו כאן לשיעור תורה, זה בוודאי איכות שהוא שווה כמה וכמה אנשים. וכי באמת בכל ענייני התורה, אנחנו יודעים איך התורה באה ומתייחסת לאנשים שבוחרים בחיים רוחניים על פני חיים גשמיים, שבשבילם נברא העולם.
He says, of course, we see that when people leave their families, their business, anything that they're busy with, to come learn Torah at night, that in itself speaks volumes of the quality over the quantity.
והנקודה הזאת, כל אדם צריך לדעת, איזה הוא חכם המכיר את מקומו, זה לא נאמר רק על זה שאם האדם לא בדרגה מסוימת, אז אני כלום. אלא גם כשהאדם עושה איזו מעלה, איזו מצווה, צריך לדעת, ברוך השם זכיתי בדבר הגדול הזה, זה מקום חשוב לבוא ולהכיר בעובדה שהוא זכה. כי אם לא, הוא לא רוצה לעשות את זה עוד פעם. אם הוא לא מכיר במעלה שלו בשעה שהוא עושה את המצווה, אז הוא לא ירצה לעשות את זה עוד פעם. לכן כשחז"ל אומרים חכם המכיר את מקומו, זה גם במעלה.
So when the sages in Pirkei Avot say, Ezehu Chacham Mekir et Mekomo, who is wise, someone who knows where he stands, usually it's referring to somebody that knows where he stands in his Torah scholarship. Meaning if he is an average person and he's speaking to a rabbi, Talmid Chacham, of course he needs to know that he needs to speak to him in a certain level of respect and so on. But if he is a Talmid Chacham and he's speaking to a regular person, he has to know where he stands. If he's among other people that are much bigger Talmidei Chachamim, he has to know when to be quiet and when to speak. But this, he says, is not really the only interpretation of that particular Mishnah. Rather, Ezehu Chacham Makir et Mekomo, someone that's wise will recognize where he stands. It's also the physical place of where he stands. Where when he sees that there is a Torah, that there's some holiness in a place, he has to recognize that the place that he's in is a holy and a respectable place.
ולכן כאן, בכל הציבור, הגברים והנשים, כל אחד צריך להכיר את מקומו בנקודה הזאת, שזכה לבוא לשמוע שיעור תורה. אפילו שמורנו הרב ירון, הוא לא מספיק מכיר במעלתו, אבל אני יכול לבוא ולומר, ברוך השם, אתם זוכים לשמוע בדרגה כזאת שהגמרא אומרת במועד קטן בדף י"ז, אם רבך דומה למלאך השם צבאות, יבקשו תורה מפיהו. ואני מבקש גם את זה לתרגם, כן?
He wants me to interpret everything he says. So he says that as far as, I forgot to mention one thing before, the Ezehu Chacham Makir et Mekomo is a person that recognizes that he's come to a place of holiness and also that he's merited to come to such a place. And the same thing that he's repeated now, where a person has to recognize that he's come to a place, he's had the merit to actually come to Su Torá. And he says, even though I don't really recognize any significance of myself, he himself will tell you that just like the Gemara says, if your Rav is like an angel, learn from him, and in essence he's referring it to me, but that part...
כן, גם את זה צריך לתרגם.
That part, I don't want to interpret.
ובאמת המפרשים שואלים, איך יכול להיות שרב יהיה דומה למלאך? מה זאת אומרת? יש לו 6 כנפיים? מה, הוא יורד, שורף אנשים? רב דומה למלאך, מתי ראיתם רב עם כנפיים?
So the Chachamim say, how is it that they compare a Rav to an angel? What, he has 6 wings like the angels? Because the Gemara says there's different types of angels and how many wings they have. 2 on top, 2 in the middle, 2 on the bottom, and each one has a different role. So what, does the Rav have wings? How is he being compared to it?
אני חושב שאם לרב ירון היה כנפיים, לא הייתם באים לשמוע, הייתם מפחדים ממנו.
He says he thinks that if I had wings, you guys probably wouldn't have come. You'd probably be too scared.
אז מה זאת אומרת? שהרב יהיה דומה למלאך?
So what does it mean that a rabbi is similar to an angel?
אז מסבירים המפרשים, הנביא אומר, הקדוש ברוך הוא אומר לנביא, ונתתי לך מהלכים בין העומדים האלה. מלאכים נקראים עומדים. למה? הם לא יכולים להתקדם בדרגה הרוחנית שלהם. עם ישראל נקראו הולכים. אם בחוקותיי תלכו. למה הם יכולים להתקדם? מלאך תקוע איפשהו, לא יכול לעלות בדרגה.
So he says that the sages teach the name of the prophet, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I gave you angels to stand. Why stand? Because the angels stand in one place, whereas Am Yisrael goes. You go with the laws, you go with the Torah, you have to keep going forward. But angels, they stay exactly where they are. They have one leg, they stay in a single place. They're static.
ולכן כתוב, אם רבך דומה למלאך השם צבאות, שהרב מוכן להיות תקוע בדרגה רוחנית, לרדת, לעצור את ההספקים שלו, את הלימוד שלו, את התורה שלו, את החיים שלו, את המשפחה שלו, בשביל לבוא ולזכות את התלמידים, זה הרב הדומה למלאך.
He says, so that therefore the sages teach that if the rabbi is willing to be like an angel where he is stopping himself from his own spiritual growth, from his own Torah learning and commitments, his commitment to his family, his commitment to everything else that he has, in order to go and teach his students, if he's willing to make all that sacrifices for that, then certainly he is somebody to learn from. He's like an angel.
אז זה ברוך השם, אני יכול להעיד, הרב ירון בגדר הזה בלי ספק, מלאך טוב, שממש מוסר את נפשו בצורה נפלאה, למען התלמידים, למען כל מי שמוכן לבוא ולשמוע. כבר לפני השיעור אני רואה אותו טרוד מאוד. הוא אומר, מה קרה? הוא אומר, קיבלתי שאלה של פיקוח נפש. אישה שרוצה לעשות הפלה, איך אפשר לעזור לה? אתה מכיר אותה? לא. דיברה איתך פעם? לא. מי היא בכלל? לא יודע. אבל אני יודע שצריך להציל את הילד.
So he says that he knows that I am an angel. Again, this is, I have to interpret because he's my Rav, so I have to say everything he says. But the point is, he says that one of the main things that makes it fit is simply because we sacrifice everything for the sake of doing this. And one of the examples he says is just what happened just in the last half hour, where I told him that somebody contacted me, and I'm very, have a lot going on to make sure to help this person. He asked me, who is this person? I said, I don't know them. He says, they ever talk to you? They send you anything? He said, no. So what's the problem? He says, the issue of pikuach nefesh. The issue of pikuach nefesh, somebody's considering making a very big mistake, and I have to save somebody's life. Therefore, it's when you don't necessarily care who's contacting you, who's giving, who's not giving, you care about simply helping people and making that type of sacrifice. That's the type of sacrifice that he's saying that makes it a person a malach.
אז לכן נבקש גם מהרב שיהיה חכם מכיר את מקומו, שברוך השם כולם מכירים במעלתיו.
And he says, he asks me to recognize where I stand. Everybody has to do that. And בעזרת השם.
ומכיוון שגם אני מכיר את מקומי, שאני לא מבין מילה אחת באנגלית, אז אני לא אוכל לשמוע פה את השיעור של הרב.
And he says, and since he recognizes his own place, that he doesn't understand a single word of English, he's not going to stay here. He's going to go do his other learning. But Baruch Hashem.
אני אפילו לא יודע אם הוא תרגם את כל המחמאות שאמרתי אליו מדויק.
He says he doesn't even know if I interpreted all of the compliments that he said about
לא
me.
מבין כלום. אז לכן אני לא אוכל להיות בשיעור, אז מחילה. אז אני מברך אתכם שבעזרת השם תנצלו את דברי התורה מהרב כמה שאפשר. הוא מוסר את הנפש בשביל עם ישראל, ותזכו להיות כלי שמקבל את כל התורה באהבה ובשמחה. ברוכים תהיו.
He says, please take advantage of the opportunity to learn the Torah with us, because we sacrifice our lives for the sake of teaching Torah. It's a big opportunity, and Bezrat Hashem will succeed.
השם ישמרך, הרב, חזק וברוך. אני אביא עוד ספרים, בעזרת השם, נשים בפתח.
בסדר. לא, אני אגיד להם, אם הם רוצים, אני אבוא אליך ואני אביא.
בסדר, ברוכים תהיו להשם.
אחר כך? בסדר, אז... אוקיי, בסדר, אני אביא, בעזרת השם. אז אני אבוא אליך אחר כך, בעזרת השם. בסדר, בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. ברוכים הבאים, ברוך השם. We had the privilege of learning from Rabbi Ephraim. The compliments obviously are very nice to hear, but at the same token, a person needs to know where he stands. And to know that sometimes people give you compliments just because they like you. Either way, we have, Baruch Hashem, a lot of wonderful things, that's been going on over here in these last couple of months that we've been here in Eretz Yisrael, in addition to the horrible things that have been happening. So you try to take advantage of the good and not necessarily focus just on the bad, because if we all focused on the news, if people spend their time watching the news, if people spend their energy following the anxiety that's in the air, you'd simply lose your mind. That's why I tell people, listen, if you want to learn something, whether it's about what's happening in the world now or what happened in the world 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, the Torah, it's the same exact source. It's the same exact source. And over the last few weeks, Baruch Hashem, we had the merit to do shurim practically every night. And a lot of people have told me that it's really transformed their lives, their perspective of life, especially during this time where in the beginning, everyone was nervous. Everyone was nervous in the beginning, but as you start learning more and more about the Torah perspective of everything, how to deal with Ishmael, how to deal with Edom, how to deal with all of the things that are going on right now, and you start realizing, wait, all of this is in the Torah already. Meaning that this is not something that's new. It's not a surprise to HaShem. It's not a surprise to any real Ben Torah. It's not a surprise to Gdolei Ador. This is something we're very, very familiar with. In fact, we knew about it before it happened. Now, what's the difference between knowing about it before it happened versus its surprise? Very simple. Once you know about it already, you're not so nervous anymore. Why? We know about it. We also know what to do about it. Once we know that it's going to happen, once we know that this is a possibility, once we know that Hashem is the one that's running the world, the same one that told us these types of things can and will happen when we don't do the will of Hashem, also told us how to fix it. Also told us the different reasons of why these things happen and how the things we need to fix. So Baruch Hashem, over this last couple of weeks, we've had the opportunity to discuss many different aspects of the Torah, different prophecies from different prophets, whether it's the Navi Malachi or Nahum or the Zechariah, Ezekiel, Baruch Hashem, many different prophets. David HaMelech also was a very primary source. And the beautiful thing is that there is endless amount more information about it. The key is for a person to not just come, hear something and then leave the shiur, whether it's the live shiur like it's here or the shiurim that we have online, leave the same way that they started. Because if you watch a shiur Torah and you enjoy it, or even if you don't enjoy it, but you leave the shiur Torah the same, that shiur was a waste of time. That mission of that shiur failed. Because the ultimate goal of every single shiur Torah, whether it's a 5-minute shiur or it's a 5-hour shiur, the ultimate purpose of every single shiur Torah is for it to impact you to the point of change. Some level of improvement. Even if that improvement is for 10 minutes out of the day. Even if that improvement is just during your first part of your tefillah. or that improvement is in the way that you see your wife and smile instead of have the same Tisha B'Av face. Sometimes people, they come see their wife, it's almost like they saw somebody died. Honey, how are you? Oh, somebody died today? No. Why'd you ask if somebody died? Oh, no, I see your face, so depressed. Oh, no, I'm tired. So it's not nice. Chachamim were very, very particular about how you have to have a happy face. Even if you're not happy. You don't have to be happy to have a happy face. To the Chachamim, actually, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai calls smiling at people chesed. He says that when you smile at people, you're actually doing them chesed. And I saw this a few times where really you see somebody and they're going through something. This happened mamash just a few days ago. I was with Baruch Hashem, my wife and kids, who were going to a dentist for one of the kids. Misken had a cavity. So going to the dentist. And on the way to the dentist, this religious woman passed by. And you don't. I'm not looking at anything, but you see already somebody from far away, and already you could feel something. I don't know if you guys feel anything. I know sometimes you feel something. You feel like somebody's like going through something. And I mind my business. My wife is there. On the way back, the same woman approaches. We're going back. She went somewhere. She went the opposite direction. On the way back, same thing. We're crossing paths again. But this time when I saw her, when I saw her face, she smiled right after she saw my wife. And I said to my wife, "What'd you do? What'd you do?" She goes, "What? What did I do?" "You did something, right?" She goes, "Yeah, I smiled at her. I smiled at her." I told her, "You don't understand. The same woman, I don't know what she's going through, but she looked so upset. The first time she went back, I told her, I saw her, she looked so upset, now she smiled." So, now for you it seems like, well, what's the big deal? It's a big deal. Why? You just changed that person's perspective of their entire day. Who knows if that's going to impact how they're going to talk to their spouse, how they're going to perform at their job, how they're going to treat their kids, how they're going to cook and clean, how they're going to pray to HaShem. It changes everything. So a person has to make sure that they take all of this into consideration. Just because you're going through a rough time, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to suffer. Now, these last several weeks have been very, very difficult for people that are outside of the world of Torah. It's difficult for everybody, no exception, but much more difficult for people that are outside of the world of Torah, because for the first time in their life, they don't really have any answers. Other than violence, other than war and killing people, which is certainly needed right now, you kill the enemy, but that's not really an answer. It's not really an answer. Okay, so fine, you're going to go kill them, destroy everything, turn the whole place into a soccer field. Fantastic, I'm looking forward to seeing it also. Maybe I'll even attend the game, just in the commemoration of destroying the enemy. Fine, but why did it happen? Why do we have to endure all this suffering? All these parents lost their kids. All these kids lost their parents. All these people like myself and others that saw these vile images that will never leave your mind. Our brothers and sisters murdered in the worst possible ways. They just told me that they had a special screening session for Israeli government members, where they showed them about 45 minutes of footage that was never aired. This was aired by the, this is obviously sourced from the Hamas, Yimach Shema V'Zichram, but apparently this stuff never saw the light of day in the general media and the most places. They had a special session for journalists. Some of the journalists wrote about it, but really it doesn't do it justice. Some minimized it, some didn't write about it at all, even though they showed up. Some didn't really say anything different than what we already saw, what everybody already saw. But the one thing that I saw with these government members is that you couldn't avoid seeing their reaction. They started coming out of the room, crying hysterical. Some of them had to have, they brought doctors there to give them pills to calm them down. They're literally grown men and women breaking down after what they saw. The first one who walked out was an Arab. member of Congress of the Israeli government. He said, I can't see this anymore. Why you can't see this anymore? It's your people that did it. Why you can't see this anymore? But that's the reality. Any normal human being, or even someone that's trying to be normal, cannot be the same after that. The point being is, how can we say, oh, it just happened, and we're going to resolve it by killing a bunch of people? That obviously cannot be it. Because it's never going to take away that pain. It's never going to take away that pain. And therefore, the people that are in the world of Torah have had a much easier time to deal with this, because the Torah has answers for everything. Especially if you have a good place to get your Torah. This is one of the things that we've been focusing on more than anything else over the last several weeks. Study the information, review it, speak with the different people, try to help as many as possible. But more than anything else, to be able to provide people answers for every single question you can possibly have, including controversial questions like the constant topic of discussion, which is, what about the killing of children? Not your children, because they already did that, but their children. Because that's the main thing that they bring up. Oh, look, ever since the Israelis responded, they've killed 5,000 babies. 5,000 babies? Where's these 5,000 babies exactly? Why, is there only babies there? There's all terrorists, everybody. The kids are carrying Uzis and shotguns. What babies? What babies are you talking about? Well, 5,000 babies. No adults, only babies died. But let's just say it's true. We killed 5,000 babies. Should we feel bad about it? Now, if you're from the secular mindset, you say, listen, I kind of feel bad, but they did it, they started. You don't really know what to have. You don't really know what to say. Because you kind of feel bad because you think baby. But at the same time, you're like, yeah, but they did it to us. So, give it to them. But then you're thinking about, but it's baby. Everybody likes babies. Even the ugliest baby is cute. So you don't know. What do? Babies, women. You start thinking, wait, are we wrong in this war? Are we overreacting? Is it a so-called proportionate response? The Torah says, you're not allowed to feel bad. En shalom HaShem amal reshaim. No peace, Hashem said to the wicked. No peace. And I've had a whole shiur about this, of how when your life is at risk and you're at war, you cannot take collateral damage into consideration. The life of one Jewish soldier outweighs 1,000,000 of them. Babies, adults, women, men alike. Doesn't make a difference. One Jewish soldier outweighs 1,000,000 of them. But if you don't have the Torah, you don't have a way to think like that, other than just revenge. But revenge doesn't last forever. But when you think, wait a minute, God said this. God says I'm not allowed to have mercy on them. Why? Number one, they're the enemy. They want to kill you. Number two, they're at fault. We didn't go attack them just because we were bored. Number three, the ideology that they have and they teach their children, which they publicize themselves, is to become terrorists, is to become people that are going to eventually kill Jews. Meaning, baby no baby, that's a little Hitler. There's more chances of that kid becoming a suicide bomber than anything else in the world. There's more chance of him becoming a suicide bomber than becoming a doctor. There's more chance of him becoming a suicide bomber than him becoming a lawyer. There's more chance of him being a suicide bomber than even being any other profession in the world. Because that's the ideology, not just of that particular segment of the world, but of Islam in general. It's a religion that sanctifies death. When they view death as a holy thing, you already know there's a very, very big difference between us, because we value life. So now all of a sudden, that baby is no longer a baby. He's simply a little person that I'm not necessarily looking to go kill him, but if I have to kill somebody that's trying to kill me, and in the process, this kid is going to die, there's no part of my heart that should be upset. Because this is the command of God. Now, if you have a Torah perspective for a while, this becomes very clear right away. If you're new to Torah, it's still a little confusing. Yeah, but it's only a baby, but it's only a baby. So let me even cater to the people that are new to the Torah. In the world of the Torah, the truth is, there is no such thing as baby. Because the real you is not the body that you're wearing. That's clothes. Just like my jacket is clothes on this body, my body is clothes on the soul. The real you is the inside you. How do you know? Very simple. Once you go to sleep, you have dreams. You fly in the air. You could do all types of things that you can't do in real life. And sometimes you remember them. Sometimes you're upset because of the dream. Sometimes you're really happy because of the dream. Sometimes you get a message in the dream. You see some long-lost uncle or grandfather or some tzaddik in your dream. It's a whole real conversation. It impacts your life. Meaning, even though your body wasn't operating, you couldn't even scratch your head with your body because you're sleeping, you were fully functional. Even if you went to sleep for 1 minute, that dream could have felt like it was 5 years. And this is also the same thing with people that have near-death experiences, where they die clinically, and they come back to life after a few minutes, even sometimes after a whole day. And they tell you a whole story of what happened to them and how they went to different places and they had conversations with different people and they saw different lights and different this and different that. Wait a minute, you were only gone for a few minutes. You're telling me just to tell the story took 5 hours. Yeah. Why? Because the neshama has is not bound to time. It's not bound to time. Your body is bound to time because it's in the physical world, but the neshama is not bound to that time. And that's really who you are. And the Arizal says in Shara Gilgulim that your neshama is not here for the first time. All of us came originally from Adam HaRishon. All of the neshamot were in Adam HaRishon. After that it split. It went into the generation of Noach, but the generation of Noach was wicked. All that was left of the generation of Noach was Noach, his sons, his wife, Og Melech HaBashan. Some say also was Sichon, his brother, or his son. There's a debate of whether Sichon was his brother or his son. But that was, the world had to restart. After that, the world repopulates again, and the neshamot all come from Noach and his children. Some went to the people of Edom, some people went to the people of Ishmael, some you have Am Yisrael, you have all the different things in the world. But once a person dies, he goes up to the Beit Din of Shamayim, and they evaluate, has he completed his mission or not? Has she completed the mission or not, according to the Torah? If they didn't, they have to reincarnate. Noach was a ish tzaddik tamim, was a righteous and complete person, but he did not complete his mission, and therefore the Arizal says he had to reincarnate and come back as Moshé Rabbeinu. And in fact, Noach himself was not an original. Noach was the reincarnation of Evel. Cain murdered Evel. But not only that, Cain had to be reincarnated. Because Cain killed Evel, Cain had to be reincarnated. Who did he get reincarnated? His neshama had to split. One part had to split and become somebody that gets murdered. Who? The Egyptian that Moshé Rabbeinu murdered. Evel, aka Moshe, had to kill back Cain. So he killed the Egyptian. The other one split into Yitro. Why Yitro? Because Cain killed Evel because he had more women than him. He was born with 2 twin sisters, he was born with 1 twin sister. Meaning Evel had 2 wives, Cain had 1 wife, he was jealous, he killed him over a woman. So in order to, the tikkun for that is to give him a woman. So Yitro gave a woman, gave his daughter to Evel, meaning to Moshe. That was his tikkun. And then HaChamim even say, there's still a wicked part of him. Because Yitro was tzaddik. He did tshuva. Even though he started in a bad way, all the avodah zarah in the world, he fixed it, he did tshuva. HaChamim say also, Cain came back as Korach. Korach. And Korach stayed the enemy of Moshe. Stayed the enemy of Moshe. He didn't do a tikkun. In fact, I have a whole shiur about this if you ever want to see it. It's online. It's called Jesus According to Kabbalah. Why would you watch a shiur Jesus According to the Kabbalah? Because the continuation of these Gilgulim that I'm talking about, because eventually Cain becomes Jesus. All the reincarnations and so on, Korach eventually. The point being is that when you understand not the deepest levels of Kabbalah and mysticism, just the very basics like I just expressed to you guys, already you see, whoa, there's a lot more than this baby. This baby is not here for the first time, and in fact he's not even a baby. He's 6,000 years old, he's an old man. The body is new. The body is a year old, 5 years old, 10 years old, whatever it is, but the soul that's in him is old. In fact, Chachamim say that sometimes when a Jew makes a very big sin and marries a Goya, he has to, and he doesn't fix it during his life and he dies that way, intermarried, he has to reincarnate as a Goy. And his tikkun is to convert to Judaism. That's why one of the things that we see in this generation is a lot more converts than any other generation in the world. Because the Chachamim say that before Mashiach comes, the guf, which is a certain part of Shamayim, has to be emptied of all the neshamot that are there. They're all waiting to come to this world. Part of those neshamot are people that have to fix to complete their tikkun. They were originally Jewish, they have to come back as non-Jews in order to come back to convert and become Jewish. And there's a lot more conversions now than any time before because it's the last train. It's the last stop. So now you see this baby that everybody's crying about. It's not really such a baby. He's some soul that's been here for a while. Apparently, he's not exactly the most righteous soul, because if he died, there's a reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu decided for him to die. And already a person has more answers that are going to calm his conscience. Now, I'm not going to tell you, listen, go kill everybody, chas v'shalom. We're not a murderous nation. We're not looking to murder anybody. But what I'm telling you is that when you have the Torah in your hand, you have the Torah in your mind, you have the Torah in your heart, you have answers to every single dilemma that exists. And this is the beautiful part of the Torah that is unlike anything else in the world. We're not like one of these religions that you're not allowed to ask questions. In fact, it's the opposite. The more you learn Torah, the more you're encouraged to ask questions. Now, when you don't learn Torah, it's better you don't ask too many questions. And the reason why is because in order for you to have the right questions, you have to have some foundation of knowledge to know which questions you should be asking. But if you're not learning Torah, what are you going to ask? You're going to ask, does the Torah say that the world is flat or round? What do you care if it's round or flat? What difference does it make to you? It's flat, it's round, it's a burgundy, it's triangular, it's a spaceship really. What difference does it make to you? What kind of question is that? But you know what the problem is? People spend an enormous amount of energy on stupid questions like that. Why do I call it a stupid question? It may be an interesting subject. Interesting doesn't make it smart. Interesting does not make it smart. Interesting does not make it smart. You're here in this world for a temporary amount of time. You have to utilize that time effectively and not waste it on things that don't really matter. If the world is round, does it change anything in your life? Does the mitzvot change? Are you going to marry somebody different? Are you going to have less or more kids? No. If the world is flat, are you going to leave the synagogue, go play hockey? Are you going to turn the whole world into a soccer field? What difference does it make if it's flat? Nothing. Nothing changes. And that's exactly why Gdolei Ador, the biggest sages throughout all of the generations, rarely ever discuss this issue. Rarely ever discuss this issue. But you know who likes to discuss this issue? Ignorant people. Ignorant people that are not really looking for the Torah. They're looking to bring their secular world into the Torah. And that's a mistake. So now we have a beautiful amount of Torah that can answer our questions, that can help us with our life. And instead of using that, we're trying to make it fit into something else. This is a mistake. And that's why when you first start, you ask the basic fundamental questions, the things that really matter to you. Once you get the answer to that, you start learning more. As you learn more, you're going to have more questions. But the questions are going to also new things that matter to you all of a sudden, that you didn't know about before you started learning. As you learn more, you're going to have even more questions. But the questions themselves are going to become smarter and smarter, because you're becoming smarter and smarter. And therefore, when a situation like this happened, you didn't see the religious community and the top avrichim, real Torah scholars, go into depression. You didn't see them, get to a point where they became hopeless and started, losing their mind, crying in the streets. No, everybody was sad, but everybody went into action right away. Some people knew, okay, this is a time to do chesed. Let me go help the people that are in need. Some said, let me do chesed with the soldiers. They're going to war. I got to give them help. Not just the medicines and the weapons, but also spiritual help. Some of this and some of this. You have kemach, you have Torah. You need to do both right now. You can't just say, no, I'm only going to go teach them Tanakh. No, right now they also need some food. They also need some water. They also need some medicine. They also need all types of things. So some people went to action and started helping that way. Some people said, okay, fine. You know what? I'm not learning Torah all day. I'm religious, not learning Torah all day. You know what I'm going to do? I can't go back to business right now. We're at war. I'm going to join the army. And some religious people decide to join the army more than any other time in modern day history. Not because they want to join the army. If they want to join the army, they would have joined the army before that. But they decided to join the army. Why? Because they say, listen, right now, I have an excuse not to join the army. Excuse is, I'm older already. I have a business. I have a family. I can live my life. But that makes me not part of Am Yisrael. Now, if I was learning Torah, that's the best weapon in the world. As Moshé Rabbeinu says, 1,000 lamate, 1,000 lamate, 1,000 lamate, 1,000 lamate. 1,000 soldiers that learn Torah, 1,000 soldiers that go fight the war. If I was fighting the war, if I was fighting the war in the Kollel, learning Torah, perfect. But if I'm not, how can I justify going to focus making more money? Let me go help the army. And some people joined. Thousands of religious people joined the army. That's how they decided to help. And then others said, listen, I'm not fit to be a soldier. I learned Torah, but as I said in the Kines, in the big event that we had, this is not the time to be the same one that you were before this happened. If you were learning 1, 2, 3 dapim a day of Gemara before this happened, don't think that 1, 2, or 3 dapim per day is still good for you. Why? Because we're at war. You have to do more. Just like the soldier is sacrificing, you have to sacrifice. If the most you were learning is you're brand new in the Torah, or very lazy, or whatever the reason is, you're only doing shtay mikra v'chad targum. The only thing you learn is the weekly parasha, fulfilling the Shulchan Aruch halacha. Good, but only for before the war. After the war, you have to do more. Why? You have to make your own sacrifice. You have to push yourself more. Everybody has to do something. You have to fight in some way. And the beautiful part that we saw in this last month, despite the disaster, is that Am Yisrael unified because of mitzvot. Before this thing, Am Yisrael separated because of mitzvot. Not because of the mitzvot themselves, but because people hated it, because they didn't know anything about it. After it, you're starting to see unification. You're starting to see the people interested more in Torah. You're starting to see people interested more in mitzvot. You're starting to see people, you know what? I'm willing to work with this religious community, even though he's a lefty liberal and he really didn't like the religious people. Right now he says, no, it's not the time not to like them. Look, they're doing so much chesed. They're doing so many great things. They're giving free food, free this, free that. I thought that, supposedly until now, for the last 30 years, 50 years, I thought that we're the ones that helping the religious community live. In reality, right now, I see that they're giving us life. They're donating a lot more than the secular people. More of their time, more of their resource, more than everything. Planes from all over the world, Jewish communities, especially in America, are being packed with different stuff, sent over here to Israel. From where? They're not coming from some secular neighborhood. They're not coming from the lefty liberal avenue. They're coming from the synagogues. They're coming from the frum communities. So even the people that are anti-religious, many of them are starting to see, wait a minute, maybe I wasn't really right about these religious people. They're doing a lot more than we did. And the beautiful part of the Torah is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not saying this is new. He's telling us this is old. This has always been us. You just didn't notice it. We've always done a lot of chesed. You were just too busy hating us to see. Now, the question is, how do you teach Mesirut Nefesh? How do you teach Mesirut Nefesh? Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice. How do you teach? The truth is you can't. You cannot teach Mesirut Nefesh. I cannot say, listen guys, I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3 instructions. From now on, you're going to sacrifice your life and do everything. Why? Because even if I tell you, go do it, you still have to make a choice to do it or not. So the best that you can do is to learn the different teachings inside the Torah that show what is Mesirut Nefesh and why. And even some of the reward. And one of the ultimate places that we learn about Mesirut Nefesh is Avraham Avinu in this week's parasha. As Kvodo asked to talk about a little bit about the parasha, the beautiful thing is that the parasha has all the answers. And we learned that after all of these different tests, there's a machloket between Rashi and the Ramban of what really were the 10 tests. Because in reality, if you calculate all of the different things that we know about Avraham, it would have been several dozen tests. But the only time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls something a test is when he talks about the Akedat Yitzchak. Where he says to Avraham, קח נא את בנך, את יחידך, אשר אהבת את יצחק, ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה, ועלהו שם לעולה, על אחד הערים אשר אומר אליך. Please take your son, your only son, whom you love, Yitzchak, and go to the land of Moriah. Bring him up there as an offering upon one of the mountains which I shall tell you. Now, before this, it says that v'yachar advarim ha'eleh v'haelim nisa et Avraham. And it happened after these things that God tested Avraham. He called it a test. Now, Avraham his whole life has been fighting idol worship tooth and nail against the entire world. The world is comprised of idolatry or people that are following Avraham. The few that are there. And one of the things that Avraham says, like, listen, look, what are you going to benefit out of this idol worship? You go do an idol worship, you're going to get married, your wife is going to wait 9 months to have a kid, sometimes 9 years, sometimes longer, some people have difficulty, some people this. Finally, after you carry this kid, the idol worship says, throw this kid into the fire. Why would you want to be an idol worshiper? So his whole life he's telling people, look, what are you going to get out of this? What are you going to get out of this idol worship? The same concept of what people, you tell them, what are you going to get out of this Islam? What do they teach? What do they teach? They teach you that your kids should grow up and become jihad, suicide bombers. They teach your kids to hate. They teach you that one day you're going to marry a guy that his whole life he's going to dream about being with 72 other women. That's his reward. You're going to toil, you're going to clean after him, you're going to cook for him, you're going to take care of kids, you're going to carry his kids, you're going to carry his problems, you're going to probably carry a few beatings from him too, because that's part of their culture too. For what reward? That he's going to go and be with 72 other women. What do you get out of this? What do you get out of being with this Muhammad? What do you get out of it? So Avraham Avinu is telling people, look at this. You're going to idol worship? Mapito. Come, I'll show you. There's a creator of the world. He doesn't tell you to go kill your kids. But all of a sudden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, you're going to take your kid. And Avraham says, which kid? Hashem says, you're only one. Avraham says, but I have two. They just have two different mothers. Hashem says, no, the one you love. Avraham says, I love them both. Hashem says, Yitzchak. The people that like to teach us a few things in some musar but some humor at the same time and say, you know what, Avraham, you shouldn't have asked any questions. Just take Ishmael, shech them, and that's it. We don't have all these problems. He said, your son, yalla, take Ishmael, yalla, make him a korban, no problem. We have Yitzchak, Baruch Hashem, we have Am Yisrael. We don't have all this free Palestine nonsense. But the truth is here, Avraham is now being told he has to take his son Yitzchak and sacrifice him. And Avraham doesn't blink. It says, Vayashkem Avraham baboker, meaning that Avraham woke up early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He is zealous to do this mitzvah, just like we're zealous to go and put the etrog and the lulav early in the morning on Yom Kippur. The tefillah starts at 5:20 in the morning. We're excited to go say I'm sorry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to do tshuva. We're excited for Shabbat. He's excited to go and sacrifice his son. But the whole time he's crying. Now, if this was only, you know what, take him around the corner, maybe down the street so the wife doesn't hear anything, and you finished, you say, okay, you know what, it was suffering, but it was limited. But no, this whole thing was 3 days. That means that Avraham had an enormous amount of time to think about this. And anyone that reads the tefillah during the Yamim Noraim that just passed sees that a big part of Rosh Hashanah prayer is the Akedat Yitzchak. And it actually goes into the midrash of what happened. The conversations between Avraham and his son Yitzchak. And Yitzchak tells Avraham, Abba, please make sure to tell Ima that I loved her, she's a good mother. And make sure that you comfort her in her pain. And Avraham is crying, and Yitzchak is crying, and it's like a nightmare. If you didn't cry during it, it's because you didn't understand what you're reading. Because once you understand what you're reading, you start crying. You're starting to see, well, wow, this is what they're going through? But yeah, they went much more than that. 3 days. But Avraham goes. 3 days, the Yetzer Hara is trying to do everything possible to make them fail. He tries to convince Avraham, he tries to convince Yitzchak. Eventually they get to a place, it says, ביום השלישי, וישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא את המקום מרחוק, ויאמר אברהם אל נעריו, שבו לכם פה עם החמור, ואני והנער נלכה עד כה, ונשתחווה ונשובה אליכם. On the third day, Avraham raised his eyes, and he perceived the place from afar. And Avraham said to his young men is talking about, you have Yitzchak, you have Ishmael, and you have Eliezer. So he says to them, stay here by yourselves with the donkey, while I and the lad, meaning Yitzchak, will go in yonder, and we will worship, and we'll return to you. Now why didn't he bring them? Why didn't he bring Eliezer and Ishmael? So the Mefarshim say, when it says that Avraham raised his eyes and he saw the place, Avraham looked up and he saw the Shekhinah on top of the mountain. And then he asked Yitzchak, Yitzchak, you see something? Yitzchak says, yeah, Abba, Shekhinah is over there. Avraham says, good, you come. Eliezer, you see something? A mountain. Okay, you don't see. Ishmael, you see anything? Mountain and a tree? Okay, you guys stay with the chamor. Why? The chamor, the donkey, also doesn't see anything. He also doesn't see the Shekhinah. You're like the donkey. You stay here. Now you would think, wait, that's not nice. What, is Avraham angry right now? No. What is he saying here? Why is he telling these people they're like the donkey? Avraham already has been full force, mesirut nefesh mode. his whole life, but especially since this mission started. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him to go do what he's doing, to go sacrifice his son. No one knows that this is what's going to happen, except Avraham. Avraham is it complete focused to have the best kavanah in the world, to make the biggest sacrifice of his life. He wants to know, is anybody else with him here? So he asks Yitzchak, do you see something? And when Yitzchak says, yeah, I see the Shekhinah, Avraham says, that means that you're also 100% focused, that no matter what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring us, you're ready to do it. If you're able to see the Shekhinah, that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that knows what's in your mind, that knows what's in your heart, knows that you're willing to do everything, including sacrifice yourself. You're willing to do Mesirut Nefesh. Eliezer and Ishmael weren't able to see. They weren't tuned in, even though Eliezer was very righteous. He's one of the 10 people that went to Gan Eden alive. Still, in this particular day, at this particular time, he wasn't on Mesirut Nefesh mode. Not full force. Ishmael also wasn't. And that's why when Yitzchak said to his father, I see the wood, I see the fire, but where's the lamb offering? Avraham says to him, HaShem will seek out for himself the lamb. Meaning that if we don't see a lamb, then you'll be it. You'll be the sacrifice. So at this moment, Yitzchak is made well aware he's very unlikely to come back home. But it says, and the two of them went together. Meaning that despite the fact that he knew he's about to die, he continued going. He didn't say, hold on a second, what did you just say? Can you give me some commentary on what you just said? Did you just say that if there's no lamb, then I'm the lamb? Like, can you give me can I call? Can I ask a friend? Can I go check with my mom? Maybe she doesn't agree. No, nothing. Oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, fine, keep going. He didn't lose a step. He continued going. Why? Because already before this, he already sees the Shekhinah. He's already completely ready to sacrifice everything. Now, when a person is ready to sacrifice everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opens gates that are not available for anybody else. And we see that after Avraham was ready to slaughter his own son, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped him, it says again that Avraham raised his eyes and he saw, and behold, a ram, afterwards caught in a thicket. And the Chachamim say, wait a minute, did this ram just appear from nothing? No, the ram was already caught from before this. Just that Avraham didn't see it. Similar to Hagar, earlier in the Torah, earlier in the parasha, when Hagar left with Ishmael, he was dying because he made Sarah very upset of how he was treating Yitzchak. So he got punished. He was so weak and small, he shrunk that he fit on his mother's shoulder. Like a little, bottle of water. Or some type of sack. She carried him. And then she left him. And it says that she left him far enough to be further than him shooting an arrow, because she thought he's going to kill her. Hagar thought that Ishmael was going to kill her. But then the angel says to Hagar, HaShem heard the cries of your son. Meaning that Ishmael did tshuva, HaShem heard the cries, and then all of a sudden Hagar sees a well. And the Chachamim say the well was always there. HaShem didn't just create the well right then. It was always there. It's just that she didn't have the merit to see the well until Ishmael did tshuva. Until he was willing to sacrifice, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't open the gate. Same concept here. Avraham Avinu is there. The bushes are there. The goat or the ram is there. He gets caught. That's already there. He just didn't see it. When is he able to see it? After HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Ata yadati ki yireh Elokim ata." Now I know that you fear me. Now that I know that you fear me to the point you're willing to sacrifice everything, now you're going to have a different type of vision. You're going to be able to see different miracles. You're going to be able to see things that are simply not obvious to everybody else. We see the same concept in the world today where people tell their stories of how they survived this horrible, atrocious situation. This one woman is in the house with a couple of little kids. She hears the bombs. She looks out the window. She sees Hamas. Dozens of them. Like cockroaches and rats. And they're with weapons. And it's almost like they're drooling blood. They're looking to kill. They're not even looking to do what the ultimate mission was. The ultimate mission was very different than what actually happened. The ultimate mission was supposed to be, together with Hezbollah, together with Iran, together with several different teams from different parts of the country, to attack in multiple places at the same time and conquer all of Eretz Yisrael in one day. That was the real plan. They were supposed to go make a base, a line, separating the middle of Eretz Yisrael from the complete bottom half. Conquer that entire area and then over time do whatever they want. Hezbollah was supposed to do the same thing on the top part. Leave the middle of Eretz Yisrael completely in a situation that you don't want to be in. And then of course the other terrorists from the West Bank, where we are, different parts, they're everywhere. That's what was supposed to be the plan. But these rats, monsters, so hungry for blood, they forgot the mission. They forgot the mission. They just focused on killing people in the most gruesome ways. It wasn't enough to just shoot somebody and kill them. They did the most vile things known to man. They got permissions and even support from their so-called religious leaders to kill as many as possible, but not in a regular way, in the gruesome way, chopping off heads, ripping stomachs up open, raping the women after they kill them, cutting their bodies while they're raping them. Horrible, horrific things that the world doesn't even know what to do with. Even the scariest movies don't have such violence. But that's what they spent their time doing. And this poor woman sees these monsters outside of her door. She's not religious. She has a couple of kids in her house. Little tiny kids. We're not even talking about teenagers. Little kids. 4 or 5 years old. She takes knives from the kitchen. She gives it to the kids. She gives the little kid, take a knife. Here, take a knife. She has 2 knives in her hands. She looks out the window again. The terrorists are literally right outside the door. They're coming. The moment of truth, she tells a story. I heard this directly from her. She says, I looked up at Shamayim. I said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I promise you, from now on, I'm going to keep Shabbat. I'm going to make the Shabbat holy. And she says, I'm alive to tell you, as soon as I said this, literally for no reason whatsoever, the terrorists, the monsters, the Satan's children, turn around and leave. They go to the next door houses, they go everywhere else. They didn't decide, we're going to become righteous people now. No, they went killing. They just passed the house. Just like a Kadosh Baruch Hu passed Am Yisrael's houses during the plague of the firstborn. if you were willing to keep Torah and mitzvot, you're willing to accept the Torah in Egypt, that means you survived the plague of darkness. If you didn't want to keep Torah and mitzvot, you didn't want to go to Mount Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed you in the plague of darkness. But then after that, there was another test. The firstborn, that was the last plague. You want to survive, you have to put the blood of a lamb. Which lamb? The same lamb you slaughtered in front of the Egyptians. That was their God. He said, go take this lamb, tie him to the bed for a few days. What few days? He's going to scream. Yeah, exactly, Hashem says. What do you mean? Scream. The Egyptians are going to come. Yeah, exactly, Hashem says. What do you mean? They're going to come. They're going to see, what are you doing with my God? And Hashem says, yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And then they're going to tell me, what do you mean? What am I doing with your God? I'm about to slaughter him. Hashem says, perfect. That's that. Moshé Rabbeinu says to Hashem, no, they're not going to do that. They're already scared of the Egyptians. You're telling me you're going to tell every single Jewish guy, every single Jewish girl, every single Jewish family, they have to take the idol worship of the Egyptians, tie it to a bed, make sure it makes a lot of noise for several days. Not just 5 minutes, close him in the closet, hide it so nobody sees. No, make sure he makes a lot of noise. Don't tie his mouth. Let him make the noise. Let the Egyptians come, and when they come, tell him, yeah, you see your God? I'm going to eat him in a few days. Barbecue. You're invited to watch. Moshé Rabbeinu says they're not going to do it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, I swear on my name, if they don't do it, they will never leave Egypt. They will never leave Egypt. After they do it, miraculously they don't get killed because the Egyptians were so scared at this point. They were so shocked at what just happened. Where the blood from the slaughter, they put on their doors. They put on their doors. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu came and killed the firstborn, he knew exactly who is very proud of his Judaism. Why? Because he publicized it. You know, some people, they're ashamed of their Judaism. They say, Rabbi, listen, there's a lot of anti-Semitism now. Can I not wear a kippah? You could also not wear a head. If I go to yeshiva, isn't that more dangerous? If you breathe too fast, it's also dangerous. Rabbi, maybe I should go to, hide in the mountains. Well, you don't think there's things that Hashem can use to kill you in the mountains? Scorpions, snakes, all types of messengers that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has. People are trying to figure out, how do I escape the fact that I'm Jewish? This is the time to be proud as a Jew. This is the time to be proud as a Jew. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to see, are you willing to show off your Judaism more than ever, show off the Torah more than ever, show off how much you love HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Torah more than ever? Or are you going to hide because you think that's going to help you? Because if you hide because you think it's going to help you, that means you don't believe in God. That means you're more scared of the terrorist than you're scared of God. That means you think that the terrorist kills, not HaKadosh Baruch Hu kills. And the Gemara says in Masechet Ta'anit, when there was a horrible situation in the Jewish community, where they had this creature that was killing people, they came to Rabbi Hanina. They told him, listen, it's killing people. We're scared. Rabbi Hanina says, where is it? Take me. Goes there. Where? People are scared. Oh, it's over there. It's over there, down the street. Rabbi Hanina says, tell me exactly where it is. We come with you? Come, don't come, just tell me where it is. He goes over there, sees the hole, puts his leg in the hole, waits for this thing to bite him, and then everyone sees that the creature dies, not Rabbi Hanina. And Rabbi Hanina put this thing over his shoulder and went through the market to show everybody. So you see, this teaches that it's not the snakes, the serpents, the scorpions, the terrorists, the cancer, the corona. Those things don't kill. The sin kills. If you don't sin, there's no reason for you to die. When a person understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that can help you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that can hurt you, and no one else can do that. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu is responsible for that. That means that right now more than ever, they're going to be proud of their Judaism because they're going to want to show not just the world, but they want to show themselves who they really are at the moment of truth. But that requires sacrifice. What sacrifice? To overcome that Yetzirah that looks like fear. The Yetzirah tells you don't wear a kippah. The Yetzirah tells you that don't be so Jewish. The Yetzirah tells you maybe don't go to synagogue, stay at home, study at home, don't... This is the time to be more Jewish than ever. Some people think that, okay, you know what, maybe it's dangerous to be in Eretz Israel, I'm going to go to America. You know what happens in America? There's more people that hate us over there than here. Right now there are protests all over the world. The Jewish community is baffled at how many people are expressing their hatred of us right now. Publicly, openly, legally. Protests of hundreds of thousands of people at a time. All over Europe. All over North and South America. Everywhere. There are more people protesting that they hate us than there's even people in Gaza. This little nothing rat nation, what do they have over there? 2 million people? That's just what's been in protest in the last few days. In one country. Millions of people in college campuses. And don't say this is like the degenerate colleges, the projects, the places where all the thugs are. No, the best colleges in the world supposedly. The Harvards, the Cornells, the Ivy Leagues, the UCLAs. The ones that cost people a house to go attend. $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. They're protesting. Not just protesting nice, amicably, show some signs, No. If they see a Jew, they attack him. They attack him. College campuses have become more dangerous than the border of Gaza. When a person thinks it's safer somewhere else, doesn't understand. All of this is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The only place that's safe is in the Torah. Meaning, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in Israel, you could be in America, you could be in South America, North America, Canada, Russia. You could be in the middle of Gaza. Right now. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to die, no one in the world can touch you. But guess what? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the other way, you could be inside the Har HaBayit. You could see inside the Beit Knesset. You could be inside you could be inside anywhere in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't make a difference. Why? Enod milvado. There's nothing else but Him. So right now is the time for a person to look at where he stands and see what else can I do to make myself look like Avraham Avinu. Because Avraham Avinu beat the odds. The whole world hated him. He had to run away from Nimrod, but eventually got caught. Some Chachamim say that he spent nearly 20 years in prison. And eventually got thrown in the fire anyway. Even though he spent in prison, even though he hid, some say he was hiding from Nimrod for 13 years. Some say he was in prison for that long. Either way, eventually he got thrown in the fire anyway. It's not like it helped him, he released, and then he's on good terms with everybody. Hey, what's up, Nimrod? How are you? No, nothing like that. Still threw him in the fire. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made that fire nothing. The fire only burns other people, not Avraham. Why? HaShem says to the angels, Avraham is alone, and I am alone. He identifies with me, I identify with him. Not that Chas v'Shalom Avraham is the God, but he is alone fighting for the honor of my name, against the Torah, against the idol worship, for the sake of the Torah. Of course I'm going to save him. the rules of nature of this world do not apply to him. He's willing to sacrifice everything. Avraham sacrificed one time after another, never expecting anything in return, and ultimately HaKadosh Baruch Hu changed nature for him many times. Right now is the time for each and every one of us to see where we can make a sacrifice. How we could do more. More Torah learning, more chesed, more good, according to the Torah. More sacrifice. Now the Yetzer Hara, the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin says, he's so evil that even his creator calls him evil. No, sorry, it's Masechet Sukkah, not Sanhedrin. Masechet Sukkah says that the Yetzer Hara is so kol kach ra, even Yotzro koreh lo ra. Even his creator calls him evil. And the Yetzer Hara manages to fool people day and night to think the opposite of Torah. The reality is that one of the ways that the Yetzer Hara wins, the ultimate way that it wins, is by not only using what we all have, which is desires, but manipulating us in such a way that people live just to fulfill their desires. Just to fulfill their sexual desires, fulfill their monetary desires, their honorary desires, their food desires, whatever it is, desires. They're constantly chasing their desires. Everyone has desires. But the reality is that you can't just say, listen, you know what, so what am I going to do now? I'm not going to have desires anymore. It's not possible. Because just like, for example, you have a plane. They said that there's the biggest plane, fighter plane in the world, just came to Eretz Yisrael to help with the war. Now this plane, how does it operate? Fuel. Now, the value of the fuel versus the value of the plane. What's more? What's more valuable, the fuel or the plane? If you buy in the market, you want to go buy the plane or you want to go buy fuel? Which one can you afford? It's okay to answer. Which one can you afford? Can you afford the fuel? You can afford the plane. The fuel you can afford. Now, the fuel is much cheaper than the plane. But if the plane doesn't have this fuel, the plane is $100 million, $1 billion, however much it is. The fuel, let's just call it a few $1,000, let's say. It's a big difference between the two. She'd figure, well, it's a few $1,000 for this $1 billion plane. Who needs this thing? Reality is, what if this plane is in the air, no fuel? What happens to the plane? There's no more plane. Becomes a story in the news the next day. Even though the fuel is not as valuable, reality is without it, the plane doesn't exist. The same concept when it comes to desires. Even though your life, you, and everything that you're here for, your whole body, your soul, your everything, that's the main thing. Desires is a fuel. Without them, you can't function. Can't function. Why? If you don't have desire to eat, you'll starve to death. You have desire to procreate, the world will be destroyed. There's not going to be a next generation. The Gemara says that the sages tried to destroy the desire of lust, but then they saw that even the chickens didn't lay any eggs. Meaning the desire for lust is necessary for this world to exist. The desire for hunger is necessary for you to exist. All of these desires are necessary. And therefore the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot that when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, it says Ve'afta et Hashem Elokecha b'kol levavcha b'kol nafshecha b'kol meodecha. You love Hashem with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your resources, with all your money. So the Gemara says, what does it mean? Love Hashem so much. It says you have to love Hashem with your Yetzer Tov and with your Yetzer Hara. What does it mean to love Hashem with your Yetzer Tov and your Yetzer Hara? Loving Hashem with your Yetzirah Tov, I know. Easy. Yetzirah Tov tells me go do mitzvot. Go to Beit Knesset, do a shiur. Even though you're busy, even though you have 1.5 million different excuses of why not to do it, go do it. Okay, Yetzirah Tov says it, I'm following. Easy. Yetzirah Tov says go pray. Okay, I'll pray. Yetzirah Tov says say a bracha before you eat. Okay, I'll say a bracha. Yetzirah Tov says smile to your wife even if you don't feel like smiling. Smile. Yetzirah Tov says go learn Torah. Go teach the kids Torah. Yetzirah Tov. I understand how to serve Hashem with Yetzirah Tov. But what does it mean to serve Hashem with Yetzirah? That means those desires, you have to figure out a way to use those desires that the Yetzirah is trying to push. You have to figure out a way to use those desires even to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those desires, a person can lose Olam Haba for. Find a way to use that desire for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, the Chachamim teach us that each and every single thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is good. Now, a person has a desire to be intimate. Now, if he's intimate with a forbidden woman, that's Yetzirah. If he's intimate with his wife but she's Nida, that's Yetzirah. In fact, if he's intimate just for the sake of being intimate because he's animalistic, it's not exactly Yetzirah Tov either. But in our series of Yirat Kodesh, the Jewish intimacy series, the Ramban teaches us that the bottom level of at least a decent reason for intimacy is at least you don't sin with a forbidden woman, with a wasting seed, and so on. But how can you turn this to Yetzirah to Yetzirah Tov? Intimacy for the sake of something more significant. Either bringing a holy child to the world, fulfilling the mitzvah of ona'ah, creating special souls even if there's no baby. Because that's what Avraham Avinu did. For almost 100 years. For almost 100 years Avraham Avinu is with Sarai Imenu, and they're not playing Monopoly. The husband and wife. She doesn't have a uterus. She can't have kids. So it's not like, oh listen, we'll try again. We'll try this month. No, she doesn't have the tools. She doesn't have the mechanism. It's missing. But Avraham Avinu is still with his wife. How do we know? Because Zohar Kadosh says that throughout all of those years that Avraham and Sarah are together, they're creating holy souls that are eventually going to be all of the souls of the righteous converts. All the converts in the world, why we call them Ben Avraham? What's to you and Avraham? Avraham is 4,000 years ago. You're over here today, 2023. What are you talking about, Avraham? What's to you and Avraham? Who are you and Avraham? No, he's the son of Avraham. Okay, well, fine. We'll make this little convert feel better about it. Okay, you're the son of Avraham. Fine. Feel better about it. No, he's not the son of Avraham. Why? The neshama of this convert came from Avraham Avinu. During all of those years, 80 years of no babies, Avraham Avinu is still fulfilling the mitzvah in the highest level of holiness and creating holy souls that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in the goof. Eventually I'm going to bring them down. Those are going to be the converts. A fantastic example of using the Yetzirah to do good. Rav Wolbe says that there were in the based on a verse in Sefer Dvarim, chapter 32, verse 8, that Yaakov came down to Egypt with 70 souls. And we see also that this number 70 is repeated in different places. 70 souls, 70 faces of the Torah. This is to teach us that these 70 souls are 70 different spiritual powers of the soul that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Am Yisrael. And the goyim, they have their influence of their soul, since it's much smaller than the Jewish soul, is just the lowest, the outer surface of those 70 souls. Meaning, the Jew can get to the deepest part of all 70 spiritual segments. But the Goy, he only has the outer surface. Outer surface. Where's that outer surface? It impacts money, it impacts lust, it impacts all the physicality of this world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, don't be like them and just focus on money and physicality and materialism and all that stuff. Focus on the deepest part, the 70 faces of the Torah, the 70 different segments of the souls. Focus on that. But then the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim says in page 47b, says that why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu send Am Yisrael all over the world? It says because to collect gerim, to go collect special converts. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu choose this guy to be convert, that guy to be convert, this girl to be convert, all these people to be converts? Why? Chachamim say it's a gift. Gift? What gift? This guy just came from Puerto Rico, he's a gift. This guy just came from Haiti, he's a gift. This guy just came from Cornell University, he's a gift. He was over there protesting with the Free Palestine 2 weeks ago. Now he wants to convert, he wants to be Jewish. What happened? He's a gift? What gift is he? I said, no, you don't understand. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu said this guy's going to convert, this girl's going to convert, he allows it to happen, that means there's something special. Why? Why is something special? It says because that person from Haiti, from Colombia, from Zimbabwe, from New York, from wherever he is, he wasn't satisfied with just delving into the outer surface of the spiritual world. He wasn't satisfied with the outer surface of those 70 spiritual levels. He wanted to go deeper. He just can't. He doesn't have the tools. But he's doing more and more. He's trying to break it. He's willing to sacrifice everything just to get a little bit more inside that 70. When he's willing to sacrifice so much to see inside, he deserves to be let in. Somebody knocks on the door, open it up. And the reason why he did it is because I sent Jews over there. I sent Jews to New York. I sent Jews to California. I sent Jews to the different parts of the Middle East, different parts of Europe. I sent Jews over there. I sent Jews to India. I sent Jews all these different places. Why? Because there's going to be some people over there, they're going to have access to this 70. They're going to have the influence of this 70. And those people that are looking for it are going to have the opportunity. And if they actually exercise that opportunity and they're willing to sacrifice, that means that they have something in common with Avraham Avinu. They deserve to get one of those neshamot. So you see, Rabotai, the Yetzer Hara is going to try to convince you to leave here and stay exactly the same as you were before you came. Why sacrifice? I'm learning, I keep Shabbat, not killing anybody. What's up? What's the problem? I'm a decent person. But then we see, wait a minute. We call ourselves Am Yisrael. After Yaakov, who's called Israel. Yaakov's grandson of Avraham. We have to recognize we are coming from Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. All made major sacrifices. Avraham Avinu made the ultimate sacrifices. And we see here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up the gates, not just in this world, but the gates for eternity for Avraham. We see that, yeah, it was difficult, but look what he got. Look what he got. If I want to have the same type of siyata dishmaya Same type of miracles that Avraham had, where he's able to defeat 4 different countries full of warriors with some sand and straw. If I want to have Avraham's fortune of being able to bring a baby to the world, no matter how old I am, no matter how old my wife is, if I want to have nature and mazal not apply to me, I want to be above nature and mazal. I don't want mazal to affect me. The doctor says you can't have babies. What do I care what the doctor says? What did HaShem say? Yeah, but the doctor's for people that have influence of nature and mazal. I'm not one of those people. Why? I want to be connected to Avraham Avinu. I want to be connected to Avraham Avinu. So how can I connect myself to Avraham Avinu? Do what Avraham Avinu did to a certain extent. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not asking you to go sacrifice your son, to go jump in a fire. He's not asking you to do that. What is he asking you to do? More. More than what you're doing. You're doing 10 minutes of chesed now, do 20. You're doing 1 daf gemara now, do 2. Anything that you're doing, do more. If you're not doing anything, Shem Yirachem, get going. Show that you're related to Avraham Avinu. Not because anyone is looking for your certificate in the streets. Are you related to Avraham Avinu? Okay, you passed. No, it's because you need it right now. Because right now we are at war. And anyone that doesn't want to have the anxiety of war, that doesn't want to have the worries of war, and also doesn't want to have the possibilities of war, which is collateral damage. Collateral damage doesn't just happen to the Goyim. We saw a few weeks ago, collateral damage murdered a few thousand of our people. War kills people. If you want protection from that, that means you have to remove yourself from the class of people that are subject to nature and mazal. How? Make a sacrifice. Whatever you're doing, according to the Torah, do more. Push yourself further. And don't just push yourself, listen, I'm studying for 15 minutes a day, I'll study for 16. That's not pushing yourself. It's like making fun of it. Whatever you can do, do more. I'm not saying do something you can never do. I'm not saying go from 15 minutes to 15 hours. But you can certainly do from 15 minutes, you can move it to an hour. You have 24 hours in a day, an hour to learn Torah. You're giving a tzedakah once in a while, start giving maaser. You're doing kiruv to help people do tshuva. Whenever you get a chance every day. Spend a few minutes every day, a few hours every day, whatever your schedule is, every day to help Am Yisrael get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do whatever you want, do more of it. Why? Because right now, it's either you do more, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put you in a situation where you're going to be very scared, and very anxious, and very worried, because nature and mazal applies to you. So all of a sudden, you hear the rockets from the terrorists, and it bothers you. Oh, run to the Ma'amad! Run to the Ma'amad! Take it easy. Why are you running? The rocket has your name on it? I don't know. I know it doesn't have my name on it. Why? I'm making sure every single day that I'm needed in the world. I'm useful. I'm useful to people. I'm useful to Am Yisrael. Which means that maybe I'm not such a righteous person. Maybe I'm not such a Talmid Chacham. Maybe I'm not all of these things that Rabbi Ephraim said about me. But at the very least, some people think I am. And it matters to them that I exist. It matters to them because they need answers. It matters to them because they need teachings. It matters to them because they need a source for their connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It matters to them because they need some financial help. It matters to them because they need spiritual help. So if I'm going to do everything I can to use this clothing, this body that I have, to make myself useful to as many people as I possibly can, it means that even if I'm not the best and greatest in what Rabbi Ephraim says, I'm useful. Useful enough that I can continue existing just for their merit. All of these people that benefit. And kal v'chomer if I am righteous and wonderful and all those things. You can do the same thing. The more you make yourself useful in the world to Klal Yisrael, the more you will become subject to different rules. Not of nature, not of mazal, but unique set of rules that are just meant for those people. And that's why the Chovot HaLevavot, written nearly 1,000 years ago, and we'll finish with this point, and then you guys can ask questions if you'd like. The Chovot HaLevavot said, somebody could learn Torah and do mitzvot, like Moshé Rabbeinu, but still not have the same reward as someone that's a mizakeh rabim, someone that helps Am Yisrael get closer to HaShem. Why? The people that help Am Yisrael get closer to HaShem are in a different class. HaShem calls them the stars. And everyone can be a star. Everyone can do kiruv. Everyone can help people do more tshuva. Everyone can do more. Now it all starts with doing more yourself. So sometimes what's going to encourage you to do more is by helping somebody else do more. You tell somebody, listen, learn more. He says, yeah, but you're not learning yourself. Okay, you know what? Let's learn together. I'm not learning. You're not learning. Let's learn together. How much time you have? I don't know. I don't have any time. I don't have any time either. So let's do it a half hour only. Nobody has any time. So you don't have any time. I don't have any time. Let's do it a half hour. Okay, fine. And all of a sudden, you find yourself learning Torah with somebody. And all of a sudden, you don't want to miss the Shiur Torah. Why? He's depending on you. He's waiting for you. You have a responsibility. And little by little, that kiruv that you did, that outreach that you did, is actually not only helping other people, it helps you. It helps you. Make yourself more needed. Make yourself more connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And push yourself to make those sacrifices, those hard calls, where you're tired, you don't feel like going to the shiur, go. Those hard calls, you don't really feel like giving that tzedakah, you're kind of like short on money, give. Those hard calls where you don't really feel like saying I'm sorry. You know, who is this person you're going to say sorry? Say I'm sorry. All of the hard things that you don't feel like doing, do it. Say I'm sorry. Say thank you. Push yourself to learn more. Push yourself to give more. Why? Because all of these little sacrifices, they add up, they add up, they add up, and they start getting you used to making sacrifices. And eventually, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls for you, for your moment of truth to make a big sacrifice, you'll be able to do it. And you'll become a little mini Avraham Avinu, with all the wonderful things that comes with it. And Be'ezrat Hashem, each and every single one of us takes advantage of every one of the words of Torah that we learned today and applies it to our life to be able to really become not just useful, not just productive in business and other things, but also be productive as a Jew. Productive as a Jew, because that's what's needed right now.
I've heard enough. New arrival screams echoing through the hallway to know that this ain't good. Once they pass them through the infierno, they don't come back. It's enough to make you go crazy.
Do not think we fear you, Spirit. We know your power is born of evil. This is your last night in the land of the living. You understand me, malevolent demon?
possesses the cure you seek. Go within. Just know, once you cross that threshold, there is only one way out.
There was a rich family that lived here called the Hetheringtons, and unfortunately, their daughter passed away of a heart attack inside the house. Basically, they were so devastated that they reached out to people claiming to be psychic mediums. They actually weren't psychic mediums. They opened up a total of 11 portals inside this house and invited spirits and entities from all different kinds of dimensions.
Well, I think there are certain pieces of evidence that there is an afterlife.
Resurrection of the dead is affirmed pretty clearly in the Talmud and the Midrash.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't. There's going to be some graphic details.
This place is a maze.
The person after death went to a place called Sheol.
This is by far the largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
People go to a place and they experience weird things. And sometimes they actually will see a character of some type. Well, where did that come from?
I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
They may describe feeling profoundly peaceful, seeing a bright, warm, welcoming light. Some people described watching doctors and nurses working on them with incredible accuracy.
Next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation.
How long did you feel like you were gone?
I went to a place of timelessness. And so what that means, it could have been a second, could have been 5 minutes. I don't know.
Can you imagine waking up from your sleep and not being able to move?
As I'm lying there, I realized that there's an evil presence next to me.
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
Holy dude, get out of here! Oh my god, dude!
Strange things keep happening. Bizarre nightmares, as if I'm on fire.
Whoa, what the hell is this? Man, I've got bad chest pain.
Satan's Hollow is what it's called, the portal to hell.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up.
And the next thing I know, I was outside of my body, looking at my body.
What I'm going to do is called claromancy, the art of throwing lots or throwing bones.
2,000 years of experience, passed down, recorded, of how demons work.
God has them all on a leash, and he lets the leash go enough to let them tempt us, because that's what makes us spiritually stronger.
I'm trying to be as graphic as possible so you understand what we're talking about.
It's your ticket to reality. It's your ticket to freedom. It's your ticket to immortality.
Is there an afterlife? Is there a God?
This is the type of information that can keep you away from the Yitzhak.
What happens to us after we die?